to order the City of Indianola City Council meeting for November 18th, 2024. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sandra, are you calling roll tonight?
Right. Member Richardson,
Present.
Beach, Ray,
Here.
Elby,
Here.
Sims,
Present.
Armstrong, Harrison.
Present. Moving on to public comment. If there's anyone in the audience that'd like to speak on something that's not on the agenda this evening, you can come forward now. State your name and address. None. Move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items that need to be pulled?
Full claims.
Okay. Get a first and second motion on the consent agenda with the exception of item B, approval of claims.
So moved. Second.
And Ben, if you want to give us a quick rundown.
Sure, we have two public hearings that will be scheduled, one are both on December 2nd, one for the Summercrest development, the other one for the Kentucky Ridge development. We also have a pay application for the West Clinton Avenue Culvert project, $165,000. Pay application for the East Hillcrest project, $561,000. New liquor license for Sticks and Balls in their new location. Third consideration and adoption of an ordinance. This is for the rezoning in the downtown district for Ben Carpenter, his business there. Resolution approving a payment application number 5 for the South K project. This is mostly for asphalt as far as the change order is concerned, and that project is coming in under estimates, and so the assessments will be lower on the residents than anticipated and coming in completing earlier than anticipated as well. We have a parking lot agreement with the Presbyterian Church. We have a street finance report that was updated by Jackie this afternoon. Water main utility easement in the Summercrest Plat 2, health insurance premium holiday. This will be done in conjunction with IMU for both the departments and for the employees in the month of December. Final plat for Quail Meadows Plat 5. Resolution approving separation with the old bum city manager and the new one for the deputy city manager coming in. So, and lastly, the resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into the CDBG grant program and authorizing that agreement with the city.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
On item G, just kind of to highlight what Ben was talking about. Two things. Number one is I had a good conversation with Danville Construction on the change order, and Ben's exactly right. It was a lot of the asphalt thickness and things that were there and a few other things and some items that went into that. Appreciate a conversation I had with Vander Pool on that particular item. I also want to just mention that Ben also mentioned that we were under budget, which means that those assessments that we originally assigned or assessed for the residents there will be less than what the maximum was that we set for that. So just two comments on that.
Great. It looks really nice too.
Pardon me?
Looks really nice.
It does. It dries nicely too.
Yeah. All right. Sandra? Oh, are we gonna try this again this meeting?
I guess so.
Can everyone see it? Yes. Yes.
Yes,
All right.
I did it. Oh, there we go.
Consent agenda passed 4-0. Moving on to item B, which is or circling back, I apologize. Can I get a first and second motion on the approval of claims?
I will do that, but I need to pull the item that I am being reimbursed for off of that because we don't have 5 council members to vote. So we have to have all 4 of us here to vote on that.
Okay.
So we'll put that on the next agenda, I think. So pull the item that I was reimbursed for.
Well, your reimbursement.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'll move to move it with that item taken out of claims. Second.
Thank you. And you gave an explanation. So we will move forward with voting on that with pulling the reimbursement for Councilmember Richardson and Cassandra. Passed 4-0. Moving on now to council report, and we have a presentation from Denman and Company regarding the fiscal year 24 audit.
Good evening. My name is Robert Endres, a partner with Denman CPAs here in West Des Moines. We've had the privilege of doing the audit for the city of Indianola for the past couple of years. We were on site again in, I believe it was August, and we do have that audited financial statements to share with you this evening. Sandra, do we have that PowerPoint presentation? Oh, sure. If not, you just get to read the 50-page document, which is even more fun, so. Well, while that pops up in front of you, just to recap a little bit of our work here, I'll point you to the independent auditor's report, which I believe is on page 4 or 5. It's where we start. That 2 or 3 page letter, spend some time talking about the professional standards here, the responsibilities related to an audit. As a reminder, before we dive into these statements, the financial statements you're about to look at are management's financial statements. Management is responsible for ensuring that they are complete and accurate, that they conform with accounting standards, that controls are in place to support the accuracy of management's financial statements. Our job as the city's auditors is to perform that audit and to express an opinion on whether or not management's financial statements are indeed accurate. For us to do that, we first start by assessing the risks to the financial statements, what accounts, what transactions, what balances present the highest risk of an error or misstatement. As we consider that, we consider several different components to that risk. First and foremost, being a public entity, there is more scrutiny to your financial statements. There is more responsibility to management to ensure their accuracy. So we're going to have higher level of standards expectations related to that concept. We also consider things like cash balances or revenue recognition, those higher risk areas. The fact that management has the ability to override controls. Those are all concepts that we take into consideration as we develop our audit strategies. From there, we do that audit testing, which includes looking at supporting documentations, making inquiries of management, a host of other procedures that will generally make us a bit of a nuisance to staff for a better part of a couple of weeks. So we have that audit evidence so that we can express an opinion on what those financial statements. We are issuing clean or unmodified opinions on your financial statements, which is the highest level of assurance that our profession can provide regarding the accuracy of the information that's in front of you. Just a couple of quick highlights to those financial statements here, which you'll find in the document beginning on about page 12. Revenues, cash basis revenues for the year totaling just north of 30 million compared to 31 million in the prior period. That small adjustment to revenue mostly relates to bond proceeds that were generated in the prior period. And again, you are beginning for those of you looking at the, here we are, you're gonna have a PowerPoint presentation, make it a little easier for you. You can pop a couple page slides down for me.
Just yell, point over here at me.
Keep on going. There we are. There we go. So here's just a really quick snapshot on the financial statements for the fiscal year. Revenues just north of 30 million. Again, the swing from the prior year, mostly driven by bond proceeds. Of course, that's going to be cyclical. Charges for services up over the prior period, mostly related to sewer charges. On the expenditure side, just north of $32 million, down from 37 million the prior year. Again, capital projects related to those bond proceeds being the biggest swings you're going to see in expenditures, public safety being far and away the largest core essential service, public service that the city is providing. You can hop over to the next slide. Another important aspect here that we look at for the city is fund balances. How much fund are those fund balances? So here's a snapshot of city fund balances at the end of the fiscal year. General fund balance, you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, just short of 7.5 million. If you were to add all that up, it's about $33 million in fund balance at the end of the fiscal year. One of the ways we can, if you could jump to the next slide, look at the financial health of the city is to look at those fund balances related to expenditures. With a general rule of thumb, it's very generalized. 3 to 6 months of cash on hand is considered fairly healthy, especially for that general fund balance. Here's the trend line here for the city of Indianola over the past 5 years. Adding to the fiscal year, just north of 200 days of cash on hand, a very healthy fund balance. I believe Moody's provides the highest bond ratings for cities, over 40% of expenditures. So you're well above that threshold. The big swing downwards you're seeing there isn't related to fiscal risk or anything like that. It's simply the city moves some money out of the general fund for your vehicle replacement fund and the Indianola Wellness Campus. So they're simply reassigning those to a different fund pool. The half of the financial statements, you got a good 15 pages worth of note disclosures, which are intended just to provide a little bit more depth and context to the financials. Just highlighting 3 here that I thought warranted a little bit more attention. You'll find on note 3 to those financial statements information related to city's debts. There are a total of 11 bonds outstanding, both general obligation and revenue bonds, totaling about $70 million, which are payable through the year 2050. The Urban Renewal TIF Fund and Capital Projects have borrowed from internal funds over the past couple of years. Very normal practice, nothing wrong with that. But it's just acknowledging that there's a $1.4 million internal borrowing that has happened within the city funds. And then finally, a new note we have this year pertaining to some changes in state legislation. Just a reminder to the readers of the financial statements that cities are, your authority to levy taxes is governed by state law. And changes at the state level could have an impact of both positive and negative to the ability of cities to levy those taxes and provide those essential services. Along with our responsibilities for providing that opinion on the financial statements, we also do some work on internal controls and compliance. As a reminder, we're not auditing internal controls, but we do have a responsibility to gain an understanding of those processes that the city staff use to generate financial information. And if we identify deficiencies, we have a responsibility to evaluate them and tell you about them. We also have a responsibility to do some testing related to compliance. During the course of that work, we did not identify any deficiencies that warrant governance's attention, nor did we find any instances of non-compliance. I believe this is my last slide. It's one of my favorite slides and should be, as council members, one of yours too. Look at all those no's we say in there. We had no disagreements with management, no issues performing our audit, no difficulties really to speak of. As part of our audit procedures, we do make adjusting entries to internal financial statements as part of that normal course. The adjusting entries we made are very, very minimal, which means the internal financial statements you've been looking at for the past 12 months are very, very accurate. So very, 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 very clean audit this year. Staff have been fantastic to work with. They always have been. And I do want to stop and thank staff for that because we're not easy to work with. We do interfere with their day-to-day routine quite a bit. And they've been very, very accommodating and we really appreciate their energy and attentiveness to the audit process. I know that was pretty quick, but I believe that covers everything I had for you this evening. Can I answer any questions from council regarding our audit work, the results of the audit?
I just have a comment. We made a conscious decision as a council. I believe, can we go back a couple slides there, Jason, to that one that shows the fund balances next there. We made a conscious decision as a council that at one time there you had almost a full year of taxes collected from our residents. And so we made a decision to bump that down and spend some of that money off and put it into other funds because of the fact that we felt that that was a little excessive in the sense that we almost collected a full year's taxes. And so I see we're still at a 200 days, which is fine. And I think that's pretty good because that's but just a little bit over your 6 months that you talked about. Still gets us that good rating on bonds. So I think that's probably, that's a good way to kind of put that. So, yeah, but thank you. And I thank staff too. They've obviously done an excellent job with
there was the slide that talked about the amount of tax that we collected over the course of the year.
felt like the second or third one.
Yeah, second or third, I think.
I put that one there.
Yeah, right there. So, property and other city taxes is down over what it was in 2023. Some of that related to the House File 718.
Not yet.
Not
That would
yet,
go
okay.
into effect this upcoming year. I don't remember offhand. It might be, TIF does have some rippling effects that are typically unusual. I could find some more information if you needed it.
That'd be great. I'm just curious as to why that number is lower.
I can pass that on to staff and make sure that
Okay.
we get information, get that to you.
Thank you.
Good catch.
All right, are there any other questions? All right, thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much.
Thank you.
Item B, can I get a first and second motion to receive and follow the 24 audit report?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Get a first and second motion to receive and file the October 2024 treasurer's report.
Second.
Yes.
See that, in the auditors or in the treasury report that obviously taxes came in, is that correct? Yes. And so we only have very small, oh, there you are.
Yeah, I'm hiding.
We only have 3 funds that are still in the deficit, is that correct? Where we are?
We actually, we still have several that are in the deficit. The pool is coming around.
Right.
That one is generated by property taxes, so probably this next month we'll have enough
Mhm.
taxes collected to put that in the positive. The park and rec special revenue, we're just waiting on the donations from the grant funding for the hometown grant.
Right.
We still don't know the source of funding. At some point, administration will have to make a decision on how we're going to fund.
340.
Yeah, 340 and 353. 353 was to tear down that house by the library. And then Indianola Wellness Campus. We budgeted for Indianola Wellness Campus, they're staying within their budget, but we budgeted more expenses than revenues.
Mhm.
And there just wasn't enough cash to back up that, those numbers, just so you know.
So on your percentages that you have off the right, revenue percent and expense percent, other than a couple which are just gonna be like a one-time thing,
Yeah.
most of these are well within the range, or most of them are within the range they should be, is that correct?
Yes.
I do appreciate those percentages, by the way.
No problem. And the others, you should see once, the liability insurance reserve, we actually just need to make a transfer from, that's 850. We need to make a transfer from road use tax fund into 850, because that was for a liability, payment, deductible. So we just need to make a transfer for that. I need to make a note for that. We're getting there. It's just a little slow going. But any other questions?
I got one, Roxanne.
Okay.
So on the revenues, where it says taxes levied on the properties, so we have the fiscal year 25 budgeted versus the 25 fiscal year actual. So it looks like, so we should have collected one round of property taxes already, right? So we collected 4.2.
Mm-hmm.
So that variance is, so I mean, in my mind, the property tax would double when we collect again in March. So it looks like we're gonna be short of what we projected or budgeted for.
Well, we've collected 46%
Oh, okay,
of the budget so
Okay.
far.
all right. That makes sense, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm just so happy with, we have that system that we can kind of figure out now too. We finally got to that. So appreciate that. Thank you very much, staff.
No problem.
I appreciate that as well.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we will move on to the mayor's report. I don't really have much to report. I just want to remind the public that Home for the Holidays is this weekend down on the square. And Santa will be in the old Fusion Fitness building. And there's a whole lot of fun stuff going on. So come down. Lots of free stuff too. So it's fun for the whole family. All right, that's all I had. Moving on to public consideration under new business. I need a first and second motion on a resolution amending the fee schedule for Parks and Rec and pool fees.
Second.
Oh, Afton's gonna present. Hello,
Hi,
Afton.
I'm Afton. I'm in charge of aquatics for Indianola Parks and Rec with the Indianola Veterans Memorial Aquatic Center.
I'm Brandon. I do all the sports and wellness for the Parks and Rec.
We're looking at, if you look at the proposal that we've brought recommendations to City Council pertaining to going to just a one flat fee instead of a non-residential and residential fee for the aquatics and Parks and Rec programming. And so what we're noticing, this would help us determine and make it easier, first of all, for customer service. People will be able to log into ActiveNet and get their program, their season passes, do it without having to call us on the weekdays, 8 AM to 5 PM. It would also be quicker. We wouldn't have to worry about determining if they're a resident versus non-resident, because we have difficulties with family dynamics have changed over time. And so we have people bringing on their neighbors onto their family pool pass, which is additional $10 after you get past 5. And it's cheaper for the larger families. However, those are the families that are less than 4, we're paying a lot more. And we brought this up to our commission because we want to make sure it's fair for all. It helps with customer service. It'll be quicker. They could do it independently by logging into our system. And it would eliminate us questioning if they're family, any of those gray area factors that also would affect our cost to help maintain our facility, because it's been 2 years in a row that we've been in the red at the Indianola Aquatic Center. And a lot of it has to do with maintenance. It's getting older, and we, as things are getting more and more in costs and they're older pumps, then we need to replace them, and it's more expensive. So we're having to look at what we can do to get out of that hole. And so we thought of going to, for, let's just say, the season pass for individual, we'd be starting at before 20% off before April 18th. We're looking at $56 per person, whereas after April 19th, then it'd be $70 per person. Okay, looking at the difference there, that fee, we would actually be able to get out of the hole, and it would help us be able to maintain that facility better. And we can't really ask for more property tax allocation. I mean, we're pretty strapped as a city. So this is our proposal to you guys. And, you know, there's some things that don't have the non-members or the non-residential fee on it. So why don't we be equal across the board and just make it one flat fee instead of have a non-resident versus resident? And we were wanting to know if you guys would support that.
You took this to your commission, is that correct?
Yes,
And
they approved it.
Okay,
And then Park and Rec Board did it as well, and they approved it.
okay, so the recommendation is to accept.
And I mean, a 2-person pass, it's still cheaper than before.
It is, and it's also being fair for all families. I mean, and if they're a larger family, they can ask for our Park and Rec fee assistance program, or they call Warren County Health or Impact and see if they qualify. And it will help those kids that, you know, if they're 10 and under, they also get a discount for the adult, because a child 10 and under can't come to the pool by themselves. So, I mean, we do have those assistant programs out there to help. And we noticed that across the board, you're looking at a $2 increase, even in programming, swim lessons, $2, and we're still very affordable compared to the surrounding communities.
Any other questions? Excellent work. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a first and second motion? I apologize. I think we did, right? Yeah, okay. So, Sandra, you guys want to vote? Motion passed 4-0. Thank you, Afton and Brandon, for all the work. Moving on to item number 2, can I get a first and second motion on a first consideration of an ordinance amending chapter 106, collection of solid waste?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. All right. Ben, is this you? Sure. Present about this.
This is just an update to the fee that goes to $6.41.
All right.
So do we, what's our term of contract with Waste Management?
Ridiculous.
I thought it was just a pass, but wasn't it the fee?
How long the contract is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll have to review and get back to you on that.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
I believe it's through 27.
Is that,
I think it's through 27.
okay, okay. I was just checking to see when it's up and when we would renew a process for going back out again for bid, so. I'll take your word for it. I thought it was multi-year. I just didn't know when it would end. Okay, I'm good.
So just to confirm, this is just pass through. It's an increase and
Yes, I believe
we're
it.
just passing it along.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. No other questions? Cassandra? Motion passed 4-0. And moving on to other business, city managers report, Ben Reeves.
Don't have a lot to report. I did send an email out earlier today on all of our construction projects. Great things are happening and things are closing down there. The one question that I had for the council is with the nearing completion of the Hillcrest project, if you want to have some sort of a celebration, ribbon cutting, or just do a write-up. And as folks are concerned, it's really up to the council on what your availability is and how you'd like to see this go forward.
Just my view, you always have ribbon cuttings during the day and I'm not available, so. Steve's always available though, so if you want to cut the ribbon.
I'm available, but I did respond. This project has been going on since when?
Before I started.
Yeah, a long time. So it would be nice to have some kind of celebration.
Mhm.
Been a point, and just to celebrate that it's over and going to be open.
We could do something right out in the street when we open it up, like moving the barricades and all that kind of stuff, or a ribbon cutting. Or you could just have a simple get together, some cake and cookies or something like that at the public room at the IWC, and just to thank the community and contractor and engineer involved and whatnot. Is there a preference?
I actually liked your idea of just, instead of ribbon cutting, we have a barricade moving ceremony.
I like that too.
Just open it up.
I have seen one where the mayor drives a big truck and plows them all out of the
I'm
way.
game.
Let's do it.
How many can we fit in the front seat?
Let's go ahead and do something and figure out something.
But a daytime event.
Yeah, daytime,
Ready to
yeah.
open up.
Yeah.
Ron will Photoshop you in.
Appreciate it.
I think
In your lumberjack uniform.
We can FaceTime Ron, so he's involved.
Yeah. Joint with
Josh, what do you have?
engineers, contractors.
Appreciate it.
Hey, Ben, real quick, I did want to comment. I know you jumped right to Hillcrest, but I appreciated your email earlier and it is pretty exciting, the number of projects that we've done this year as a city and all the ones that are wrapping up. And consistent theme being on schedule, ahead of schedule, at budget, under budget, right? So, as you pointed out, thank you to AP, Caleb, Jared, Aaron, maybe even Snyder and Associates. I think Dave's back there somewhere, I thought I saw. And all our different contractors, like it's really easy to sometimes not see the forest through the trees, but it's been a really fantastic year for the city to do some projects that are very necessary around here. So good work to everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, and that list that I provided today didn't include Franklin and it didn't include the downtown square, which we're also.
Now you're just showing off.
No, that's all these guys.
Absolutely. No, and I do mean it. Thank you to everybody.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I said pain point, but only pain in that road was closed so that we could make progress.
Right, and that's always the case. Anytime you're under construction, it is impacting the residents. And we really appreciate their patience with us because look at shutting down K Street, for example, that was really hard and impactful, but the way you guys went about doing it and making wise business to the residents saved an entire construction season, saved IMU money from all of the cuts and bills that would have to be done, and made it so there's less assessments on the residents and a great product. So we applaud you too for all of those projects and what you've done to help us get that moving forward.
I just find it amazing that all the projects were under budget. I mean, they seem to be coming in under budget right now, and the fact that, you know, generally you end up with something where you got some weird things in a project that's gonna require it to be right at budget or just maybe a little over, and the fact that everything, even the North End project, even though it's a little bit resolving a problem that's been there for 10 or so years, but it's been a great project, and I think that's says a lot about staff and contractors and everybody else.
Probably important to note that we typically have a budget, we have a cost estimate and a estimate, and we bid it out. When bids come in low, of course, the contractors are all scrambling and trying to get that project. And then we do have ebb and flow in the change orders, but the change orders aren't exceeding what our budget was at the onset. And so that's what's great.
And I think even the project we have for next spring is bid under budget, is that correct?
It is. Great construction season.
Yeah, I think all that said, we do have lessons learned that will only make us better.
Great. Thank you for that comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, discussion of, I guess it's kind of like sort of my report, but it's other business, so I'll turn it back to you.
Discussion and direction regarding the recruitment of a new city manager. Ben, we're sorry to see you go. We're happy for your family. We're happy for you to return back closer to family. So thank you for your 3 years almost here. And getting us through some humps. But this is ultimately not really a conversation I need to be involved in either, as I will be seeing a new seat come January. So I'm gonna let you four discuss it here.
And
Ben?
Courtney is here as well, has gone through this process before and can help to explain their options.
Courtney, can you told me what the numbers were for the last time we did this with Ben. We kind of run through those real quickly so we can have an idea of what it cost last time. And then if you have any thoughts on what we might be this time. I don't know if that's possible.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Courtney Silliman, HR Director. The last city recruitment process totaled about 25,000. We contracted with GovHR. They did our comp and classification study, but they also did our city manager recruitment. So a very favorable process, very aggressive timeline. We did it in as short amount of time as we could. We had lots of stakeholder panels, very clear direction on, steps and who needs to be involved when. Jackie did outline for you all the process, really just looking for direction on what you all want to see next in the manager search.
So I guess I would ask Steve and Ron and Courtney, did you enjoy the process last time, how it went, as much as one can enjoy such a process?
Yeah, as much as one can enjoy the process, I would say that I did enjoy working with GovHR. I thought they really streamlined the process, kept us focused and on task. They had clearly pulled some great candidates for us. I know we had interviewed, I think some other people had come and talked to us as well, and we had then streamed it down to GovHR.
Did we do 3 or 4?
We did. We
We
did 3.
brought in three firms, right?
Yes. So staff reviewed all of the RFPs. We scored them on a matrix and provided you with the top 3. And then you all decided through the interview process who was the most qualified.
Wasn't it hired by we came in 22 in January, but they had hired them, I believe.
No, we did.
We did?
We did.
Okay. I know I said it wasn't gonna say anything, but for the sake of this,
Yeah, no,
GovHR
you're
was
fine.
great. I thought it was a wonderful process and we had great finalists.
I thought they gave us some real good, when we had the video exchanges, I thought they gave us some real good ideas and direction on a number of things. Very impressed with that, and they are the ones that did our comparison studies, groups, and a number of other things I think are very good options as well. I mean, I think the choices are fairly simple. I mean, we either can do the same process we did last time and have the staff or recruit, although it does take staff time to go through and get quotes from different companies, and then narrowing it down to 3 is kind of a tough job too. I was very happy with GovHR and how they did things. I thought it was extremely professional. I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit, Ben, if I may. From a person that was actually part of that process with GovHR, what was your experience with that?
I've worked with several firms over my career, and by far they were the best. From an applicant standpoint, and communicative and responsiveness, and the type of questions and the approach that they went through, even the contract negotiations, they were the very best, even. They were.
Yeah, that's good.
But it's also important to note that it does cost some dollars to do this. However, those dollars are usually offset by the fact that your city manager process and your hiring takes a couple months, 2, 3, 4 months or whatnot to go through that process. And because of that, the savings in the salary is offsetting the costs that are incurred. So I just want to make sure the public is aware of that.
Good point.
Are we able to just go directly to them again if we wanted, or we have to put out an RFP process?
So would that, I mean, maybe it would be important to have been involved in some of the beginning. I don't know.
It's whatever you
On the recruitment, if we could speed it along by hiring them versus waiting. So we go through the process. I don't know if you would want to, but I think you've always had an excellent knack for hiring people. Every single person you've hired is just great. So.
Let me back that question up just a second to Courtney. I know all of the applicants we had last time were out-of-state applicants. Is that something that you can tweak it a little bit and make sure that we get some in-state applicants as it goes through that process? I think they did, but I don't remember that for sure. Do you remember?
We did, yes.
Okay.
We post on, of course, ICMA and all those places, and then we do a nationwide search as well. And I don't recall, and I can get back to you on that, Steve. I don't recall if we didn't have any in-state. I think we had in-state, but we had a large number of out-of-state too.
We actually interviewed a gentleman from small town Minnesota, and then also a gentleman from Osceola.
Yes, yes, you're
as
correct,
well.
Ron.
So,
Yes.
yeah,
Right, we did, didn't we? Yeah. Okay.
We had
sometimes.
a large pool.
Yeah, sometimes recruiting firms will actually do a mailer and mail it out to the city managers within the state as well. It may cost a little bit more to do that type of thing, but they can put their advertisement together and literally mail it to every city that of a certain size or a certain demographic, why not? And it maybe would increase the pool.
I'm gonna kind of deviate a little bit here if I may. Was there anybody in the audience that participated in any of the groups that we had to interview the folks that, okay, we have 1, 2, 3. What was your experiences with those, with GovHR? Did you have any thoughts on those? Go ahead.
I thought it was fine. I mean, my part was, you know, but
Right. Did we select that or did they select that or how did that go? Do you remember?
I think
It was a
the
joint effort.
city,
They asked us for, a key stakeholder group, and we together
Okay,
combined and provided that to them.
there we go.
It was a good experience.
Okay. Amanda?
Yeah, I don't think I don't recall having direct interaction with GovHR, but I was on a panel and I appreciated that. I thought it was a good process.
Well, what's your thoughts?
I guess where I'm at is I would like to move as swiftly as we can while still being prudent. And so staff had a good experience. The previous council had a good experience. I don't see why we would waste time reinventing the wheel. They're obviously have recent experience with us as well and are who we are as a city and where we're going, and I'd like to just get it going.
I don't disagree with that. I just have one more question now. You said GovHR is no longer GovHR. They're a different company. Is that correct? I'm sorry. My question is this, though, are the
They had a
same people,
merger, yes.
same people involved?
Yes.
Can we just have Charlene again? Is that what we're asking?
Yeah, well, no, I'm just asking if they have the same.
Like
people
Charlene.
involved.
Yes.
I'm with Ron. I guess I'm with Josh on this one then. I think I would just soon cut to the chase and do it.
I think it'll save you a lot of time.
I feel the same way. I'd like to just move forward and end their services and speed this process up.
Particularly Charlene, right?
Yeah, and ask for Charlene for sure.
She knows everything about us now. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's how I feel too.
You need a formal motion? No?
Things going.
All right, good direction.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Courtney. So moving on to item C is mid-year staffing evaluation. We had asked during our budget meeting in April for Ben to come back to us and discuss a couple positions and where we were financially and. All right, so you.
Absolutely, and I do apologize, because that came out during a study session, and I just absolutely completely forgot that this, even though these were included in the budget, so there's two mid-year positions that were included in the budget. The deputy librarian, because of the number of direct reports that the librarian has, and this one has been asked for several years. And for the assistant engineer as well, with all the number of projects that we've been working on. And both Michelle and Akilis are here that can review those requests. But when they were included in the budget and the request came through, and I was of course trying to get several things done, I pulled the trigger and authorized that advertisement to go out for the librarian one. And neglected to bring that back to you. So I appreciate the mayor bringing that up and the council's questions with regard. So this is your event. This is your time to be able to talk, ask any questions of us. Our financial position, of course, is good where we stand right now, and this is included in the budget, and our audit came out good. But we can answer any questions from a financial or from a staffing need perspective.
What was the second position? I'm sorry.
What's that?
What was the second
The
position?
assistant engineer or public works director. I don't remember the exact title.
Yeah, we call it assistant.
Assistant engineer.
Is this the position that was gonna be shared between Public Works and the wastewater treatment plant?
This would be more for public work, so it'd be stormwater, streets and sewer. And helping to manage all the different projects that we have going on.
Salaries, a range, just a range, I think.
I think, sorry, this is AP Public Works Director. The range that we previously talked was without the benefits, we were talking somewhere around $60,000 to $65,000. Higher than that? Okay. 65,000 is what I remember in the spreadsheet, but overall with benefits, I think I was looking at the spreadsheet, it was around 111,000.
Was that the half year number or is that the?
Are you talking half year number?
I don't know. Yeah, sorry, I must have mistakenly seen that. Sorry.
We'll get those numbers for you.
And then, yeah, the deputy position as well.
That one is advertised. So
The annual amount for that one is 83,000.
Michelle, how many years in a row have you asked for this?
This would be the third.
And your numbers are going up. I mean, that's shown in our annual reports. I want to throw that kudo to you that you do see that. What's our anticipated annual revenue like next year? What are we projecting? I guess that's where I get at, and that's.
It's not significantly more than this year. It's probably at best 200.
And again, it doesn't have to be exact, but.
Yeah, at best 200,000 difference.
Our early projections, we're only anticipating an additional 250,000.
That's for taxes and fees and everything?
Well, that's just property taxes.
That's just property, okay.
For other
How about fees and
revenues,
services?
I'm projecting an additional 3%, as long as they're on target this year. If they're not on target, I'm keeping the revenues the same. I will get you a number. I'll have to provide that to you. But we are asking departments to keep their expenditures the same, or salaries go up based on the step increases. just because with the legislation, we're anticipating a slim year. And also early projections for the end of this year. I'm anticipating our fund balance to be about 33%. So that's why we have a healthy fund balance, but I know you want it to be at that, over 25%, but at the 28% range. So
I think we said, we kind of gave a range. I think it went up to 25 to 30, 33.
We set it at like 30 or something.
Yeah, I mean,
that's fine, but of course, the whole point of normally having reserves is for extra non-operational expenditures. I mean, I know that you guys were trying to spend down your reserves. So it's just one of those years where we're actually asking the departments to balance their budgets versus using reserves to spend it down.
Well, I think it's a good idea because I'm concerned that I'm getting off topic here. I don't want to get off topic very far, but I think we need to have that fund balance it may be critical in the next couple of years ahead, so.
Well, and since the audit discussion, I did plan this week to send you my fund balance calculations and how it compares to the fund balance policy. The only one that I'm concerned about is the sewer operational fund. But I will send that to you in an email this week.
So if don't sit down yet, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm hearing is that if we fund these two positions, or we prioritize one over the other, which I don't really like to do, but if we fund these, that we're gonna have to ask staff to make sure that they kind of keep their things they're spending in check. Is that kind of what I'm hearing then, if we do this?
I just think that the departments need to be fiscally responsible this year, not budget extraordinary expenses. Just be frugal as much as they can be. Because there is a lot of unknowns with this new legislation. And it's not that I haven't seen this before in the county that I worked for, so but I don't want us to be put in a position where we are strapped. And so I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, I don't want us to cut services or put our departments in a bind, but I do know that I think that I think that everyone needs to make a conservative effort to be mindful of their budgets going forward. So that's my opinion.
Thank you.
Good questions.
He just sent me the salary range for the assistant engineer. It's the range is between $67,252 to $90,864. So this is a 10-step process where if depending on the starting position, it starts with $67,000.
So these are already in the budget.
Right.
As of right now. We've been planning for them all year.
Right, but I neglected to bring it back to you before pulling the trigger, so I do apologize.
Gotta make you say that one more time before we're done.
Oh, wait a minute, you did.
Yeah, yeah.
So actually, are we supposed to vote on those positions tonight, or are we just discussing them tonight?
It was really just to bring it back for
Okay.
you to have a discussion
Yeah,
before we pull the trigger on it. And
We've already, there's your other time, Ben. So we've already planned for this, so really this is, we don't say anything, we go on with the plan. Unless you wanna change the plan, then we have to come out and say, let's change the plan. There, with regard to as we talk about all the projects we're doing, is there any, we're we're obviously changing a lot of staff right now, right? And some different heads of different departments are shifting around. We're hiring some new folks and stuff like that. Does the assistant engineer make sense right now, or should we ask to wait 2 or 3 months while we let everything shake out and see if that's really what's needed in that new department, or if there's a different feeling? Something to talk about here.
It really depends on workloads and whatnot. And the pinch point that I think everyone felt is that we tried to take on so many projects this year. And I think there really was a lot of pain, if you will, trying to work with staff, especially with the loss of Charlie, who was taking care of the downtown project and trying to get information communicated out and working with the residents out there and being on top of all the different projects and all the different contractors. We have a fantastic engineering firm that we work with on a regular basis that helps us throughout that process, but it really depends on the ebb and flow of the workload and what you plan on putting in next year's construction budget. And how quickly we continue to advance some of these projects. But what the immediacy of the need, I'm gonna really turn it over to Keith.
I'm gonna ask a question. Go ahead, AP, and it is kind of to you. So if you had this assistant, would this mean then that we would also have opportunity to be more time out on projects that are involving stormwater, sewer, water, those kinds of things? Is that what I'm hearing? Is then that this person would have more time to be out there actually in the field, as well as reviewing the plans and specifications to make sure we get what we need? Is this correct?
Yeah, so this is more of, most cities our size have an engineering division. We don't have engineering division. And again, this is not for managing larger projects. Yes, we will manage. We are hiring a firm like Snyder to do that work for us. They are doing excellent, but this is also to take care of land development that's ongoing right now. There's lots of land development that's going on, which is not properly, the quality control is not there. There's also stormwater projects, sanitary sewer projects that can be overseen. There could be smaller projects, small scale projects that could be done by this position, you know. So this is more of an institutional knowledge that will be experienced with this position, which will grow with the city, and they will be doing many other projects for the city.
Thank you for mentioning that, because I was gonna head towards more of the development projects where the developer's putting that in, but we do need some oversight on that, and we can do the engineering on that too. That's, okay.
If maybe there's an analogy here, what kind of efficiency and effectiveness did you see come out of Charlie by hiring Emily?
Yeah.
And being able to rifle off some of that work and being able to become more efficient in the type of work that you do. I would equate it more to that nature, because right now, the busy work, the day-to-day work, the reviews, the plan review, and trying to get out there and manage and work with the community, with the contractors, with the engineer, with the public at large, that's what's all being done by one.
Well, did you have another question?
No, I was just gonna say, so we can still blame Charlie for something, but it doesn't go right.
Charlie for
I'll get to that.
Our developers' money through review costs. I talked to 3 different developers last week, and they said it goes through review process in the city, but then it goes to Snyder, and then they're getting a bill from Snyder as well too. So I think what they're looking for is if we hire an engineer, it's gonna help maybe decrease some of their expenses too. Or are we still gonna see those expenses even with this position?
So yes, you will see that with this position, but the ultimate goal is basically to make sure you're doing it right on the first place. You know, there will be inspections, so they will be, engineers will still need to perform. The developer has to still perform to suit our standards, but this is an extra set of eye that's going and reviewing every set of inspection starting from geotechnical to everything that's involved with the engineering. They will review and make sure it's being done correct the first time. It's not being, there's no additional cost for the city as in the long term.
So this is more of a check for the city and for our citizens, and our
talked about
being prudent with their funds, right? As opposed to the developer still having to have the engineer review it on the front end. That's pretty standard. practice. I mean, every city does it that way.
I'm inclined to say that Josh made a good point that we budgeted this. She's been asking for this for 3 years. We told her at the meeting that we'd take a look at it at the beginning of this, towards the halfway point. They're seeing increased numbers, increased things, and the library, I agree with that. AP and his staff seeing increased as well. And if we can get people out there to do the inspections and do the things they need to do and make sure that things are checked out properly for AP's department, I think that's fine. I'd be in favor of letting both these positions go ahead.
What did we do with our purchase of vehicles last year, right? We ended up not bonding and pushing. So at some point, you know, we're gonna have to
cut back.
My concern is that, you know, our revenue is only gonna be 250 more and our vehicle costs keep increasing. We need more vehicles. I understand we need more staff as well, but where's the balance?
Most of that, and one of the things that the Wellness Center board said was they needed more staff, and one of the things that we said was we can't give them more staff this year right now, and I don't know, maybe more staff for them brings them out of the red. Again, I know it's budgeted, it's just, I think we have to be really careful in this next year with, until we understand what House File 718 really does to us.
And we're being warned about our budget and departments, holding the departments to their budgets. I'm just looking at where we are. It's a tough place because we also have to look at our current employees and how we take care of them. And are we putting one thing over our current employees? And that too is a tricky balance because some of the employees today are carrying a heavier load.
Roxanne, do you know what our total salary budget for? That's probably really unfair. I'm sorry that I'm asking you.
I don't have that on me, but I can provide it.
No, I think I sent it to council one time.
Do you need just this fiscal year or do you want?
Well, I think that's gonna come in play too of what our current salary budget is. And then, you know, if we only have 250,000 extra funds, we've got to be able to meet the salary steps of our current employees.
Something to keep in mind though, that's $250,000 is property tax additional funds.
Sure.
We will have additional funds in other areas too, but.
And I'm gonna provide the revenues tomorrow. I'll get you what my projection is, my increases tomorrow.
Thank you.
The library position will be funded with property taxes. The one for AP will be funded out of street and road use tax, or excuse me, sewer and road use tax fund money.
Yeah, that's a, you know,
Okay,
different funds.
Yes, you know. Yeah, I have all the concerns. I don't have concern holding staff to a budget that we all agree to. I think that's probably the expectation. I've never known it to not be that. You know, again, you see all the projects we have going on right now. We're not gonna be less busy next year. And a lot of these projects continue to be very large for us and income generating in the future, right? The type of things we need to. And so again, it makes sense. We budgeted for it, we've planned for it. And when we make the next year's budget, we have to be tighter in some areas. Like that's part of budgeting. For the library, again, we're moving forward with a plan and a path to library as part of this. It continues to have record numbers, service more of our citizens directly through that one outlet than many that we have. My perspective is just one is we budgeted for it. We'll continue to do our best to be sound during budget season, make wise decisions, and then work through that as we work through it. My perspective on this front.
Do you know what the increase, if any, in road use tax, kind of a rough idea? What was the difference in last year, this year, amount of money you got in road use tax, and then what it's gonna be in the next year? Do you know? Have any ideas?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have the
I
exact numbers
apologize
with me.
for putting you on the spot. I don't mean to do that to you, so.
I know as far as CERPA dollars, there's not a whole lot of increase in where we are getting. It's approximately $250,000 to $280,000. It's growing by $20,000 to $30,000 every year. The gas tax that we are getting for projects is roughly around $200,000 to $250,000. That's where our minor capital improvement projects are somewhere around $500,000 that we are getting.
Right. Yeah, so we get money from CERP to gas taxes. Is there anything in the vehicle registrations anymore, or is that all? It's just the gas tax is what we get for road use tax.
Do you wanna? Direction? I think these two, both positions, direction, yes, it's in the budget, it's okay.
Well, I think so. I mean, from my perspective, I tend to agree with Josh. You got two pools of money here you're dealing with. And so road use taxes is funded, and the state will make sure road use taxes gets to where you need to have it. You know, what expenses you're gonna have to have there if they raise a gas tax or whatever the case is, but that's dedicated money the state has to put towards road use. And so if that position comes out of that, then the library can have property tax. I think we are gonna see some tight times, no doubt about it, but I also know that Josh's point is exactly right, that, you know, we're growing, we've got a lot of projects going on, we've got a couple others that are looking at coming online here in the next few months. I think we have a bunch of resolutions here we're gonna adopt in the next few months is gonna require additional staff time, and I think we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot if we don't. Sometimes you gotta spend money to make the money and get to the point where you need to be down the road. So I think one of the problems we've had in the past is sometimes we tend to back off when we should be taking that step forward. And I think this is the time to take that step forward.
Want to give a direction?
I personally would like to see what that 3% increase looks like as far as for fees and services, to see what additional income that's gonna provide to the city. And maybe I'd also like to see is well, what's on the docket for vehicles to be purchased? I mean, we didn't buy any last year.
Two.
We turned down the bond, right? Cause that was the option.
We bought a Tahoe and Silverado.
We were behind a year, so you guys approved 2 for us.
Yeah.
I don't move fast when it comes to spending money that I don't have, so I would like to see what we're gonna have before I give the approval to say,
I think
let's
maybe
spend it.
Can we bring it back to the next meeting?
I also think we're missing 2 other council members too,
Yeah,
so I think we should allow them to weigh in on it.
I do think we need to have a meeting sometime in the beginning of December, just to show you guys the CIP request for fiscal year 26. But we did approve 2 vehicles for the police. And there's a dump truck that came in that had been approved in prior years. Problem is the lag between when things are ordered and then when things are coming in. So you order it and then it takes a couple years to come in, so then it's coming in at a different fiscal year. And so that's where we're running into issues, just like the fire truck. Last year, it had been ordered 1 or 2 years prior.
And the back truck.
Yes, and the back truck. That was ordered in, I think, 21, and it just came in this year. So, but I do think we need to set a meeting soon to just so I can show you all the requests. Because I did ask the department heads to give me a time frame that they would go before you to ask for approval, as well as their priority, what they believe is a priority. So that you are prepared when we have our budget workshops in January. So you already have that before we go into the budget workshops.
What's your timeline on that budget workshop in January, Roxanne?
I believe the first is on the 9th,
Yeah,
and then the
right.
second one was this week, I think.
So those don't coincide directly. They're separate meetings, not a regular session, not a regular
No,
council meeting.
no, they're separate.
Okay.
So would we like to bring it back to the next meeting on the second, December 2nd? Everyone can be here
That's
and
fine, yeah.
get that information.
Yeah. I do want to maybe put one thing out there. We did advertise, I did pull the trigger on the librarian position. Do you want us to put a hold on that position and stop collecting applications? Do you want us to continue in that process? We haven't started the process for the assistant engineer. We have received some applications.
Well, if we're gonna talk about it, if you start taking applications, then it seems like we're kind of moving forward, and maybe we just need to put a pause on that for now, I guess, until we meet on the second. Is that thinking?
Yeah, suspend, okay.
All right. Item D, I need a first and second motion on a resolution approving a contract with Opian Architects for the library building.
This is part of the Vision 2030 plan. Part of it is for us to work towards a new library, and part of that process is going forward and creating the community engagement necessary to be able to understand exactly what the building makeup will be and design and costs, so that we can go after the donations, so that we can look at the layout, so that we can rezone the properties around it and turn those into profit generating, turn them into the private sector, creating jobs, retail and residential above. But all of the work is really contingent upon us knowing a design. So the council directed me to go get a cost estimate with a healthy community engagement process involved in that. That did come in at $72,500, and that was taken to the library board for them to review. I believe it was also reviewed by the Friends of the Library to make sure that this is the plan that we feel good about, that it has a good community engagement process included in it. And they have given their support, and it's before you for your consideration.
I just had a question. What fund was the 72,000 coming from?
That is a good question. I believe we were gonna take it right from
I thought it was libraries.
from the library.
This is pretty much just to put a plan together to get some concept ideas.
Cost estimating. So you need a rendering, cost estimating, so that you can have a layout and you can be able to know how much you're going after. You can get naming rights on the building, all that kind of thing. It's hard to go after anything if you don't know what it looks like.
So is the library and Friends of the Library, they're gonna have input as far as the conceptual aspect? Okay.
Yeah, it's our goal and intent in this whole thing to use 3 revenue streams to pay for the library. One would be donations. One would be the upzoning and conversion of non-tax generating property into tax generating. And then potentially the use of TIF, because your increment is quite large when you're going from 0 tax base to the upper tax base, making it so there is no tax impact on the residents themselves. Of course, you have to prime the pump, and the only one thing that we need to make all of that happen is the ability to do the community engagement design. So this is the one cost to the taxpayers.
And how will this tie in through the engagement, visioning and design with Sixth Street plan?
So, the Sixth Street plan, basically it's a great plan that lays everything out. The only thing it didn't really include is this idea of a library out there. And, this really updates all, this is the library's portion of that whole plan that can be incorporated to the Sixth Street. So, and of course, with the county land exchange, that property did become, or is in the process of becoming ours, when the county and you go through the public hearing in the last housekeeping steps to take care of that.
Any other questions? All right, Cassandra? I got you comfortable.
No pressure, Dolby.
You're just gonna have to put me as a yes, because I'm out.
Yeah, I said for us.
It's all the suspense.
All right, motion passed 4-0. Moving on to item E, we need to set a date for the second council meeting in December and our study session agenda items. Councilmember Richardson and myself will both be gone on December 16th. And so I think it was discussed in your guys's retreat to do it on the 19th. Am I correct on those dates? Yeah.
That works for me.
Okay.
I don't know the 19th will work for me, but that's all right.
Does the 16th work for you? Just 16th work for
I
everybody?
think Steve's out of the country.
Yeah, I'm out.
I can change my date. I have it, my plane ticket, I can change my ticket and fly out Tuesday morning. That's why I was asking.
What day do you get back in the?
I don't get it until, well, when do you get back? Up to you guys.
I may or may not be available for the 19th.
All right, let's make it the 19th.
Yeah, let's
Fine
do
if
that.
I'm
Okay.
not available.
I
will
hope you can
survive.
make it.
19th.
I do. I hope you can make it. If not, it's gonna be really empty in the center of the table.
Yeah.
Okay, that is set. And moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where we do have a study session, and where it's after 7 p.m., we could go to the study session first before going into the closed
I
session.
think that'd be great.
That would be good.
Yeah, I think Eric and Amanda would really probably like that. All right, so let's take about like a 2-minute break and run to the restroom, and then we will jump into study session, and then we will come back. Hello, welcome to study session of November 18th, 2024. I think we will start with Erica Roberts from Main Street.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Most of you are aware, we got our designation in August of this year. So I just wanted to quickly give you a snapshot thus far, what is Main Street Indianola looking like? We've been very busy over the last couple of months. They started in October. And I went into it continuing the work that we had started in September. So the first thing that we tackled was getting our board of directors and kind of putting a structure to that, with those board members having focus areas of organization, promotion, design, and economic vitality. I added 2 additional focus areas of community partners and business outreach. In December, we will start adding our committees to those pillars that will support those. So we have continued gaining investors. We are closing in on 60 Main Street investors thus far. We have attended 2 Main Street orientations, and we've done 2 on-site training sessions with Main Street Iowa. Our main focus right now with Main Street Iowa is working on our transformation strategies, strategic planning, and our mission statements. For me, it was important that we started to define what does Main Street for Indianola specifically look like. Obviously using place-based economics, but what does Indianola need? What are the needs of Indianola and their businesses? And that is something I will continue doing one-on-ones with in December, and that will probably last for about the next 6 months. Another thing that we will be working on is educating the businesses and the community on what Main Street is. And what resources are going to be best suited for our downtown businesses, building owners, and residents. The other part that we put a lot of effort into is working with our community partners. I have met several times with Amanda, the city, county, Simpson, Warren County Economic Development. And thus far, I will tell you that has probably for me been the most successful part of this, was the way we have been able to work as community partners. This is all in addition to our 2 largest events, which is Wine Witches and Brews and Home for the Holidays, which is coming up. Wine Witches and Brews this year, we had just shy of 1,100 women and men come down to our downtown area, and it ended up being our biggest event to date. Home for the Holidays this Saturday is shaping up to be very similar. I do encourage all of you to volunteer for this event, and just even if you can't volunteer, just to be present. So what's next up for us is that we will continue the 3rd session of strategic planning with Main Street Iowa in December. And we will continue our business outreach program. So that is going to be 3 of us kind of going out and starting our one-on-ones to educate and let these businesses and building owners know what they have for resources. We will hold our first Main Street workshop in February, and in January, obviously, we'll begin planning the rest of 2025. So obviously, just to kind of shortcut it a little bit, our hope is that through this program, and we know that this is going to be a marathon, this is not a race, is that our downtown businesses will start to thrive and not just be surviving. I mean, I think that's the main goal. And with the strategic planning that we have in place, we're looking at that carrying us for about the next 3 to 5 years. Any questions for me about Main Street?
So you're more or less providing an education to the business owners on how to more efficiently run their businesses, to be more profitable, to is that kind of the?
It's development too. I mean, it's not only that, but you look at like historical, preservation and different things like this. We not only want the businesses to start thriving, but we have some building issues as well. And, we'll be utilizing some of the resources that we have through Main Street Iowa. So it's the business aspect, but it's the physical aspect of it as well. We're going to start doing we've already started the full inventory of what our district looks like. We will be rating buildings. What's the worst of the worst and the best of the best. And, for me, to be able to have that complete inventory and be able to do some comparisons, I think it's gonna help, whether it be through grant programming or whatever it is. We've got to start tackling some of these building issues. So that's a big part of it too, but helping those businesses understand how to use business resources.
What do these 60 investors do? So is it a financial investor?
Yeah, we're a self-sustaining program. So they've come in as financial, yes, it's financing the program itself.
Okay. Do they help with the, if a business owner needs some assistance with, maybe some brickwork or something, or is this only to sustain the office part of the program?
Within by being designated Main Street, and getting that designation, all of those services are provided to us for free. Yep, design services, field support, marketing workshops. I mean, there's a pretty substantial list of resources now for us that are going to be free of charge. In addition, we're going to be eligible for specific grant opportunities as being a Main Street district, which will be huge for us.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Erica?
Just a comment, to your point, Ron, one of the things that Eric has been working on is meeting, trying to set up a meeting with Matt Hansen, who's at Simpson. He's the Vice President of Student Affairs and Dean of Students. And there was some discussion with Matt at a football game about them wanting to put some Simpson students on the square, still have the college pay for those apartments, so to speak, and provide some opportunities there, living off campus, but yet still getting campus services. I know you've been working with that. Did you?
Yeah, I had a meeting on Friday with Jay Byers and Matt regarding that, and working a little bit with one of our board of directors that's on design. The concept would be they're going to be out of housing at the beginning of next school year. And what we discussed a little bit was about looking at some of our upper story and different areas that we can use as residential for downtown. Simpson would actually, is interested in looking at those as possibilities for down the road for additional housing. So that would be able to be included for the first time, instead of having off-campus housing, they wouldn't have any of those penalties, which would be great for us. The obstacle there is getting with building owners to look into and to be open to doing something with our upper story housing, which to me right now physically is by far our biggest problem.
Would we lose the tax base of those upper level apartments then if it goes to Simpson?
No, it doesn't go to Simpson, Ron. Simpson would just negotiate and sign a lease or a contract with the building owner. But they pay the fees are paid by Simpson, is my understanding. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So Simpson would pay the rent, students would live there, still be owned by the individual.
That's correct. That's hopeful. I mean, it's a new opportunity to at least look at.
When you say they're going to be out of housing, I think this is great what they did with the 3.5 GPA in taking in. I know lots of Indianola students taking advantage of that. So what's their plans with that? Will they? I think my biggest fear is I go to a certain town where my son lives right now, and it looks pretty rough. Every house is a rental almost, and I think that's what I love that Simpson requires them to live on campus because it does keep our town up, right? Not having a bunch of rentals all over. So is that something they're exploring, letting Simpson students live off campus? Do we know?
No, just that one.
If they're gonna be out of housing, where are they gonna put them then?
Yeah, I would say I was at the same football game, and I mean, I don't know that it's something that any of us can speak to or solve here tonight, but they're just they're having an uptick in enrollment, and they're being creative in how they deal with it, right? Which is good. Healthy Simpson is good.
And it may be a quick solution, because maybe it'll be, upperclassmen. It could be a whole variety of different things. It's literally just in the conversation.
Framework of what they talked about is to be a reward for upperclassmen, it'd be an opportunity to have students on the square contributing, working, living, doing something different.
Spending money.
I will tell you, in visiting other Main Street communities, and I'll hit the road next year and start, definitely going to some more. I think you would be blown away at the residential areas of their downtowns versus ours.
Mhm.
It's just, it is a sought after district to live in. And you don't have vacancies, you don't have upper story, parts of buildings falling apart. You just don't see that. I mean, it is a vibrant residential area, which I just, a vast contrast to what we have currently. So just very interesting, the difference. Thank you.
Thanks for all you're doing.
All right, Amanda.
All right. Thank you for having me tonight. I do have a lot to cover, but I'm gonna fly through it. And so if you guys just hold your questions till the end so I can get through it all, because I might answer it along the way. But first, on behalf of the board, I'm talking primarily about Experience Indianola and a couple things today. So not covering as much chamber, but the chamber just wants to thank you guys for being great partners. And offer our support during this selection process. I know board members are willing to serve in panels as it pertains to hiring a new city manager. So I promised my board that I would pass that along. Whatever we can do to help during this transition process, we would be happy to help. So I'm going to cover a few things today, really highlight what we've been doing as far as Experience Indianola, both from a creative perspective, so you can have an understanding of what we've been investing in and what the results have been associated with that. But then also I wanted to share some data. I nerd out. I think it's important for us to know if we're investing in something, what's the return we're getting. And so I have some data to share with you guys today. Looking ahead, I want to present a couple things. And then I have a concept to share that is a little bit of a collective concept. So to start in on Experience Indianola, so we launched, if you guys recall, just towards the end of December last year. I am sorry, I got a little notification that something wasn't working. So it might be, I might have some break in some links. So that's why those images, I'm guessing, are cracked. But we launched at the end of last year. And since then, we have tracked about 14,000, which are active users. We've had almost 400,000 counts on our website. And we have an engagement rate of 69%, which I really like that metric because it says people are coming here, they're hanging around, and they're returning. So we've really built a strong audience on our website in the last year. If you have not subscribed to experienceindianola.com yet, I encourage you to do that because we do have newsletters out there. We also this last year invested in the development of more assets. So we hired a videographer who went to the Warren County Fair, the National Balloon Classic, Summer Arts Festival, downtown Indianola, and we have been capturing footage. It's really important if we're going to market this destination that we have footage that's professionally done. We also invested in them doing some video editing for really using in different campaigns. And then also we've been acquiring some professional photography. Our experience, I'm so bummed out right now. It's so pretty. We're gonna let him troubleshoot. I'll talk to it while he's pulling it up. But Experience Indianola, we developed campaigns. So all of the look and feel that you're seeing on social media, that you're seeing through newsletters, we have contracted out to Gradient 9. Just to let you guys know, I have been through 3 part-time creative employees, and it's just not working. And so not to say I'm not going to attempt to hire an employee again, but just the quality of what I feel we need to be delivering as far as a brand. The part-time employee wasn't working, and so I'm contracting right now for Gradient 9 to do some of our campaign development, and if it doesn't show, it's fine. Oh yeah, it's fine. In addition, we did an Experience Indianola video campaign, and this was through Bing Bang. This was one of the major investments. It had over 174,000 impressions, targeting Omaha, Des Moines, Cedar Rapids, and Iowa City. And this was like pre-roll. So when you think you go to a website or you go somewhere and you have to skip a video if you want to get to what you're going for, that's what this kind of campaign, it's called pre-roll. And so we were pleased to see we had a 64% completion rate. That means people watched our videos all the way through rather than skipping ahead. And the click-through rate, they told me was good, but I don't know. That's a metric that I struggle with, seeing a 0.22 click-through rate. So I'm going to continue to test drive in that B-roll. And certainly Aaron would be a great resource to get some information from on that. We also invested in an influencer who has almost 100,000 Instagram followers. It's the Iowa Lovers influencer, and she was actually a great partner. You can't see here, but we covered National Balloon Classic, Warren County Fair, the Summer Arts Festival, downtown Indianola, and then stores. So her kind of deal was, I'll come and cover your events, but you have to share businesses that are willing to work with me as well. So we got both what we invested in and then the business community. What you can't see here is some of the data that I was sharing, which was about 55,000 views of the National Balloon Classics reel. And then she is sending some of the data on the rest of it. So I will share that with you. From a social media perspective, we are both on Facebook and on Instagram. We've reached over 100,000. We've had 26,000 visits, and we have about 1,800 followers currently, and that's growing every day, especially ever since summer. We really didn't have a great following until that July timeframe, and because that's when we started investing in the spend. One of the stats that I think is important is that 45% of our followers are not in Indianola. And that's the goal. We want to reach people outside of our community, but we also want to reach people within our community. We have a lot of people who don't take advantage of the assets that we have. And so we've been hearing a lot about our campaigns and the things that they're learning that they never knew we did. I'm going to do something really quick because I have a PDF or a PowerPoint, and I'm going to pull this up instead. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Some of my things will be mumble jumbled on here because it's a different program. Here's our Experience Indianola campaign. We also started doing group tours. So I had 0 in 2023. In 2024, we had 7. We had 2 who had to cancel for various reasons, but it was a $40,000 plus impact. So we were able to account for just a hair over, I think it was 38,000 coming from us writing checks to our restaurants, to our venues, to all of the organizations and the businesses that help put on these amazing experiences. I am actually going to do a FAM trip for anyone who wants to participate in it and see what it is that we're marketing. I think it's important everybody in our community understands that. But when I say plus, we're not able to account for what they're spending. It's not including hotel spend. And then a lot of tour planners like to pay certain things directly, in particular, the National Balloon Classic. If they do a Sky Suite, they're writing those big checks direct. So I'm guessing we're probably more in the $60,000 to $70,000 impact range, and that was with hardly trying. And so our mission, and you can see here, it's been popular. We are a popular destination. People are calling us. It is actually taking a lot of our time, and in particular, my time. When a tour planner comes, they want to understand what your community has to offer, and it can take 2 hours on the phone. And so we're in the process of developing a little bit of more of a self-sufficient process on Experience Indianola. We know there'll still be a high touch point, but we're creating right now and getting ready to roll out the tours and event planning pages where whether they're coming for a group tour, they're coming for a meeting, or they're wanting to do a wedding. There's resources that are going to be available for them to do some of this research on their own. So this is an example of experiences. They'll be able to peruse these experiences, add them to their itinerary, and do some of the upfront investigations in advance so that when they call us, they're like, here's the things we're interested in doing. And then we can do the operational side. We're doing a lot of sales, a lot of operations. It's a lot more time than I could have ever imagined. But in the end, we're getting repeat visitors coming back after these tours. We're also creating a weddings page. We have amazing wedding assets in our community and surrounding community, but we're not keeping them captive. We're not bringing them here for rehearsal dinners and having them stay in our communities and dine in our communities. And so we're developing itineraries and different experiences for them to do for their guests so that we're getting that hotel motel tax and we're getting that sales tax revenue while they're here getting married. So that's a lot. I just threw a lot at you right there. But kind of the bottom line that I wanted to share here is that when you're investing locally in tourism initiatives, we're yielding results and we're making it a very specific, intimate Indianola experience for our groups, for our community, and for our visitors. And so I'm going to share a little bit more, but just we've done a lot in the last year as a team of 2 plus our partners. And it's at the end of the day, it's just the beginning. So as we look at some data in Warren County, this is the 2023 Iowa Economic Impact Study. They only do these lag behind. So these results just came out. So in Warren County, unfortunately, it doesn't drill to Indianola. You'll have to forgive the M being misplaced here, but we have 45.6 in direct visitor spend million happening here. That equates to, so if you think about the visitor spend, those businesses are also spending. And so Travel Iowa Economic Development actually measures the total business sales. And so there's $70.5 million in tourism impact happening in our community. That is equated to about a 9.7 million in our labor income and 8.8 million in state and local taxes. These are trending up from 22 to 23, except for in the retail space, which would be consistent with what's being seen across the state. Some people are still, granted, we have not rebounded in tourism from COVID. So the state has been looking at things and comparing things to 2019, since that was our last normal year. And so we're up 41.2% in visitor spending since 2019. That equates to almost 14 million in visitor spending. And when we look at that from that total sales, it's up 19 million. That equates to $1 million tax impact happening in Warren County. We believe that investing in tourism and taking your tourism investments and applying them locally and in initiatives that are going to drive results is going to only increase this substantially. We can't really tell yet specific to visitor spend how things are performing, but we can look at what's happening just overall with spend. And right now, retail sales in Indianola, and that's everything retail, is increasing at a rate higher than the rest of the state. So you can look at Q3, and we saw a 13% increase in retail sales compared to a 5% increase in the state of Iowa. When we look at that year over year, because granted, inflation matters, so we have to account for that. The data that I saw on IEDA said we should account for 3.1% increase. Well, we're seeing a 9% increase. So we can say we've grown about 6%. I think it's safe to say that that's the increased traffic that we've seen. Just an interesting bit, our eating and drinking stats are increasing while everybody else is decreasing. So we saw a 16.2% increase. So people are enjoying our restaurants and the things we have to offer. We've also looked at visitor traffic data. This is something I get from Greater Des Moines Partnership through Placer AI. It is not foolproof, so we cannot say, hey, this is the end all be all. But it is the best metric that we have to utilize at this point. We have 5.3, this is Indianola specific, 5.3 million visits per year from visitors and 611,000 visitors per year. And that's just slightly up, about 9,000. Our downtown, you can see, has about 138,000 visitors per year. So to me, this is opportunity. You know, we've got 500 and some visitors coming to our community that are not finding our main retail hub. In fact, if you look, while our visitor numbers increased, our overall visits to downtown decreased 12,500. I think, yes, economy can account for some of that. I think community perspective can be a reason for that. But also it's this disconnection, I believe, from our main thoroughfares. And I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit. But the cool fact, we had 2,000 more visits from Simpson campus. I think this is a great indication from both the town and gown efforts that have been going on. We also invested in a Simpson athletics campaign where we've got videos and we're promoting to the Simpson community significantly. I go around and I recruit students to scan the QR codes to visit experienceindianola.com. So I think we're just seeing a great increase. But to summarize that up, the good news is our retail sales are up, but not in everything. When I drilled that down, I'm looking at apparel, I'm looking at specialty shops, and that's down. And that's going to lead to something that I want to share. But when it comes to retail sales, we are outpacing the state. F&B spend is up, we're outpacing Polk County and inflation. We've increased our visitors slightly, but they aren't necessarily staying. In talking with Pratesh, it's about even and just maybe a hair less. And then downtown visitors have increased slightly, but the number of visits have declined. And so I share this with you because we still have work to do. And I think that's important. As we look ahead, my belief is that we need to increase our marketing placement. So when the city determined to invest in this initiative with us, it was for a resource. Well, it was soon discovered, like, it couldn't all go to a resource because we need to develop the assets. We need to develop the collateral. We need to pay for the placements. And one thing is for sure is marketing placements are extremely expensive. So as we look to the year ahead, what we've committed to placements is about almost $25,000 in marketing placements. But that leaves us without a travel guide for Indianola, something physical for people to pick up, leaves us out of the Iowa travel guide, out of the Iowa meetings guide, and out of Catch Des Moines visitors guide, because those alone are about an $18,000 investment. And I'm not even touching all of the digital things we should be doing. Everything that you see here is what if you want to call our neighbor communities, competitors, I like to call them partners, but if we're looking at what they're doing, they're investing in all of these things. They're taking their hotel motel tax and they're making sure that they have placements. We don't have these right now. We've got some of the stuff on the left. And so my proposal for the future is just as you guys dialogue in the future about your economic development investments, your hotel motel tax investments, that you consider investing in helping us become what I would consider a true CVB operation. We're not just a website and doing some marketing placements. We're operations. We're really leading a charge for our community. And so I really would like to have a full-time marketing or tourism position, but I can't afford to do that when I need to make about $60,000 in marketing investments for our community to be out there. In addition, I think it's safe to say we don't really have a welcome center that is to the caliber that it should be. And so my proposal is just basically, hey, we'll make these placements right now with like Catch Des Moines. we're sending the money up there, but we're not getting in their visitor guide. We're not getting in some of those digital advertisements and the things that we need to be. We will still invest in it through this campaign, but I don't have the funding to invest in that right now. And to me, the Metro is our low hanging fruit. Okay, so I'm gonna switch gears quick. And I'm gonna present just a little concept that it came up when I was getting ready one day, and I've talked to Main Street about it, and they're kind of like excited about it. I've talked to a couple other people, but the only intent in sharing this is just to throw a noodle on the wall for you guys to think about as you're juggling all of these decisions as it pertains to municipal buildings in the future. So one of the things that I have come to identify in the last couple months is people now want to come to Indianola to do business because we're a Main Street community. I don't have retail space for them already. We are running out. We also have a lot of need for upper story housing. And we have the continued issues with parking, which I think lends to some of the decreased visits that I shared with you earlier. And so I had this idea about all these communities like Ankeny and all of these other cities are creating Main Street destinations through new construction and development. They're trying to look like us. And we already have this asset, but it's not connected to our main thoroughfare. And so I had this idea of like, instead of like a big city hall that blocks Main Street and you can't see it, like what if City Hall or whatever municipal building would maybe end up here? What if it became Main Street? What if it was the beginning of a Main Street corridor that started from 65, 69 and it traveled over to the rest of Main Street? And at the same time, I call it Mayberry 2025. That's what I'm calling it. This, by the way, I had fun with AI. But Mayberry 2025, this is the way that it used to be. It still is in some communities. But at the same time, this could potentially open up the opportunity for if the city wanted to look at funding streams, private investment. We need more retail space. We need more upper story housing. So what if you were in these conversations, and I don't want to assume what you've talked about because maybe you've already had this conversation. So if so, disregard and ignore me. But we feel like this would be a difference maker for our community, and not just from a standpoint of the business opportunity and the work opportunity, but from the community perspective. I feel like we need to make our downtown the place where the community needs to be again. And if somewhere along the way you guys are having your conversations, and I know Ben presented the green space concept, but if we could build in private opportunities, I feel like you're sitting on valuable land. And so we just wanted to kind of throw this out there that if these things do come up, if it could connect to Main Street, if the architecture could be a continuation, we think that this could be an incredible gateway, a place where people want to invest, where they want to work, where they want to live. And as I like to say, they'd like to stay a while. So I wanted to just present that in conjunction with my partners and some people that I've talked to along the way that encouraged me to present that. So with that, that's all that I had. It's a lot, I know. Questions?
Think we get any benefit from our partnership with Catch Des Moines?
Would that money be better
So I
spent
believe
here?
in regionalism. I do. I believe regionalism is important. But if we aren't investing in ourselves first, then what do we have to offer to the region? We're not being marketed as the location for, events. Our business community is not marketed through there. They have to make that decision to pay themselves to be marketed in there. Our events, our venues, all the things you see on Experience Indianola are not on the Catch Des Moines website. So I I believe that they do good things, incredible things. They're extremely very good at marketing. They did invest in like enhancing Indianola's page this year, but it's a significant investment. Like if I could wave my magic wand, it would be, hey, Catch Des Moines, come to the table and help us restructure this agreement as a community so that we can get measurable results out of it. But right now, I'm trying to show you where you can get measurable results. I'm not sure we can measure those results in that direction. That being said, pulling out of a Catch Des Moines has repercussions too. And so, I think that being at the table with them and talking to them about how we make this work for everyone is important. But we're going to continue to not have placements unless we find other funding streams. We're going to continue to not have placements in all of the collateral and the places that we should be if we're a community that wants to market themselves, just like Pella, just like Winterset, Boone, all of the other communities. It's what is it? Maybe $70,000 that's going up there. What I could do with that, I mean, you just saw it. It's pretty significant.
So you're saying that we give all that money to Catch Des Moines, but we still have to, in order for them to really promote us, we still have to buy a digital footprint with them? Is that kind of what you're looking at, or some kind of either digital or print?
Yeah, so like they have a model that I totally understand. You have to spend money to be listed with them.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that. It's more of a member-based type of model. So, a West Hill would have to be paying to be on there. As a community investing in Catch Des Moines, you are not paying for our assets to be listed. It's city assets. It's Simpson being listed. I also think that there's opportunities to do it differently. National Balloon Classic invests. I think Warren County Fair might invest. If Main Street invested, if they invested in Catch Des Moines, the chamber has experience in Indianola investing. We still have access to resources. But it's by the city participating, you're not getting your tourism assets included in that. The activity center is on there, the wellness center. Well, if there's a meeting for 50 people that wants to come to Des Moines, we're not being looked at by, a meeting planner. They're not coming to the activity center. So
to me, it just feels like a timeshare, right? I got sucked in on some location and I'm continuing to pay every year, but I'm never really using it. That's kind of what it feels like to me.
Yeah, and I think it's the regionalism concept. It's so important, and I believe in it. But I also believe that, a contract that's been in place since 1990 something should be refreshed to meet the needs of today. And I think that that's the conversation that should happen. I'm not sure it's going to go anywhere, but
to have the conversation among the council. This is just from Ben and Jackie and I, like pre-planning agendas next month. The first meeting, we have until the 31st to give notice
and that's 18 more months after that.
Yes, so but we have to give that notice before December 1st or 31st if we want to sever. And I think we should at least have the conversation. And all right, any other questions?
Thank you, guys.
Amanda, thanks for all your work.
Yes. Sorry, it went long.
Okay, so that's great. Lots of information. So we are still in regular session, I guess, because we did not leave. So can I get a first and second motion to enter into closed session in accordance with Iowa Code Section 21.51J to discuss the purchase or sale of particular real estate only where premature disclosure could be reasonably expected to increase the price the governmental body would have to pay for the property or reduce the price of the governmental body would receive for the property. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Cassandra.
I need you back on.
Am I supposed to be in my?
Oh, I think did everybody sign out? Can we just do a voice vote? on these?
I was on the Catch Des Moines website, sorry.
An email.
Yeah, I think half of us are signed out of it.
Hi, Amy.
Good.
I've heard that before, Ben.
Ron. Chance for your vote, Ron.
Yes.
Yes.
Ferguson,
Aye.
Aye.